This meeting is being recorded.
What the hell was that? Did you hear that?
I did, yeah. It came on from my computer.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so there will be bourbon and there will be a cat. There's Frank. What's up, buddy? Welcome to the virtual bar. I've got Todd. It's Burleson. Yes?
Yes, that's it.
Todd Burleson will be my patron tonight. Before we get started with this handsome-looking gentleman in a... Oh, I thought that said GOP NYC. That'd be even funnier, but a Gap NYC. Fueling tonight's discussion, as always, will be the finest American spirit. I'm going with a local flavor tonight since I am in Virginia now. So I will be going with the Bowman Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool little story about the Bowman Brothers. John, Abram, Joseph, and Isaac. They were Virginia militia officers in the American Revolutionary War. A dub for the United States, by the way. You know, one of many in our military history over the British. One of two, I guess.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we know how that one ends. So this stuff's good. Again, non-age stated, but you know, if you do some research, it's probably about 6-7 years. And one of the cool little rumors about it is that so the Sazerac company owns the Bowman Brothers, who also owns Buffalo Trace. So the word on the street is that they purchase some new distillate from Buffalo Trace. It gets shipped up to Virginia. They redistill it. They run it through a copper still, and they age it and barrel it there. And it comes out as a Virginia small batch, which is nothing more than a marketing thing. It's a Virginia bourbon, right? Okay, so here we go.
Hey,
So that's what I'm imbibing on. And now, wait, I wanted to do this because I haven't done it yet, and I always tell myself to do it, and then I forget because that's what bourbon does. But, you know, if I ever or my brother ever offers my dad something, right, a bourbon, doesn't matter what it is, high proof, low proof, old, young, whatever. Dad, how's it taste? Smooth. Is what he always said. I'm like, Dad, all right, smooth is not a flavor. What does it taste like? So I just told you it tastes smooth. I'm like, all right, so here we go. Smooth. All right.
Smooth.
Yeah. So Todd's here. Todd coming in from the Bond Girl room at his favorite club. Can we get a check of the Bond Girls real quick?
Oh, sure. You want to see it?
Yeah, because I've talked about this a few times, not on the podcast, but there's some people who do watch that have heard about this, but I've never shown them because out of respect for the club, we don't go around taking pictures. But
fair enough. So I won't show anything here because I don't know how much the club really wants me to see. But this is a one specific room in the cigar club I joined in Napa a few years ago. It's a great little spot, but they put a lot of money into making this a very exclusive and very rewarding experience to be here. And this particular room is dedicated entirely to James Bond, one of my favorite movie characters of all time. And on the wall behind me is every Bond girl from every film that he ever did. And pretty cool. They got like a signed Walter PPK over there on the wall and everything. It's pretty sweet.
Now, again,
so it's pretty easy to get these things, and they did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it is exclusive. Yes, you do have to do what you do to get there. But at the same time, I've been inside there. So it can't be that exclusive.
Well, I didn't invite you.
That's true. I just kind of followed you to the door like a cat, you know, just walk in behind. So anyway, what are you sipping on? What do you got there, buddy?
So, you know, I had to make a run to the store before the podcast because I told you I already drank all my bourbon. So I was at the store. I was like, all right, well, what's a good one with a story behind it? And I thought, all right, how about the first bourbon I ever had? Ooh. When I was 15, and I stole this out of my grandmother's liquor cabinet. Ooh. Elijah Craig, small batch. It holds a lot of sentimental value. It's always a good one.
So, okay, speaking with first bourbons ever, my first one I remember because I just saw his name on Facebook as I scrolled through real quick. So I remember we were at my buddy John's house after school in high school. And we used to pretend that we were going to have a band one day. So we had a band for about a month. So anyway, we're over there rocking out and he's like, let's do some shots. I'm like, okay. Wild Turkey.
Oh, yeah.
That was my first. Didn't really realize it was a bourbon. You know, I didn't know anything about bourbon. I just thought it was whiskey. But yeah, that was a rough day. And I don't think I revisited that stuff until probably 20 years later. And now it's actually really good. I like it. I like Wild Turkey.
I did too. I had very blurred memories of Wild Turkey and just remember it tasting like lighter fluid. And then I remember trying it just a couple years ago. I was like, this is damn good bourbon.
It really is.
So
yeah.
it's good
And so for the stuff that people go crazy over and that you can't find, sometimes you just got to look like it's right in front of you. Like, this is $30. This is solid, right? The Elijah Craig, same thing. You can find that anywhere in California. It's a little different out here. But yeah, you don't always have to. So I wanted to say that before I get into all this stuff. So walking through DC last weekend, and I think it's called the liquor concierge or the bourbon concierge or something. So I was like, oh, it was a cool little storefront. It looked nice. They had some really high-end stuff, very visible. So I was like, let me walk in there and check out these prices. So Virginia's different, right? It's all a state lottery or a state control. 2 minutes later, you're in DC, and then there's a little bit of liquor freedom again. But dude, they had every possible thing you could think of. Everything. All the shit you can't find at the absolute dumbest prices I have ever seen in my life.
Really?
Like the 10 year, because everyone loves Pappy Van Winkle, but the 10-year bottle they're selling for $1,200.
Wow.
And the 23 is going for like $5,500. But it's
surprised.
there. I mean, if you want this stuff, you can get it, right? But you're you're a sucker if you're paying those prices. You really are.
Okay. See
We're
that,
just rich.
You lived out here, you know how like a lot of the bars and hotels and stuff like that, the restaurants have great selections.
Yeah, and they're cheap.
And a lot of the liquor stores around here do a really good job too. But I mean, while I was looking at that bourbon for $30, I looked 2 rows up and there's a Blanton's for $150.
Which used to be on the same price right there. Like, it used to be right in front of you on the shelf too.
And I might upset a lot of people who watch this podcast when I say this, but I think Blanton's is wildly overrated.
It is. I've said it already. You're not. It's
okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's fine, but I also think it's one of the hottest bourbons I've ever had. Like, I drink Blanton's, and I can taste it 3 days later.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
That's what I think, but that's
I don't think it's better than the regular Buffalo Trace. I get it; it's a single barrel, it's the first one ever. It was a great marketing thing they came up with. It single-handedly created the single barrel market, but outside of a cool bottle, it's not better than anything else that they offer.
I've seen cooler bottles.
Okay, that's true. Let me see. Here's a cooler bottle. The homeless man special, a little E&J brandy, right?
Oh yeah, there's a throwback.
Yeah, I needed this for some Coq au vin last week. I made.
Nice. Look at you.
See, the only thing I'm a little jealous about is you got this cigar, and a buddy of mine gave me a Cohiba last week, and I can't light it, or else I'd have to sit outside and probably get the cops caught on me. But I appreciate the cigar, though. That is good.
Yeah, I
do miss that.
I took a break from it for a while because I don't like smoking cigars when I have to work in the next day or so, because cigars just wreck my palate and I can't taste wine properly. But I've basically got the day off tomorrow, so.
So what do you think? Okay, because I know there's a big thing about pairing cigars and wine, pairing cigars with whiskey and bourbon. So you don't like the wine aspect of cigars because of what it does to your palate, but there's a lot of people
I do, but I think you got to choose carefully, because I mean, all right, I chose a bottle just yesterday. I was in here with a couple buddies, and or it was 2 days ago. We were in here and we got a nice bottle of wine, had a few cigars, went and watched John Wick 4, good pregame for it, and I brought a bottle of 09 Sylvestrin Cabernet, which was great. And I always smoke mild cigars. I don't like really big Robusto styles. This is even pretty robust for what I normally smoke, but I just really like this particular one. But if I'm pairing it with wine, no. I mean, it maybe a port or something like that. It'd have to be a big cab, something to stand up to it. But if it's a really delicate wine, something well-aged, something with a lot of nuance, I think you got to be really careful with pairing a cigar with that, because it's just going to completely wash out all the flavor, and then you just wasted all that money on a great bottle of wine that you can't even taste.
Which I'm glad you started talking the way you did, because I did preface this like, hey, this guy that I'm going to have on, he knows way more about wine than I ever will, and he's probably going to talk a lot of cool stuff about it. So I hope if it's not your normal listening experience, check it out, because you're probably going to learn a few things or two tonight. So that's good. I don't know I don't think I've had the one you got. Now I've been spoiled, obviously, like with Maddie, I've had a chance to try a lot of really good stuff. But what's funny is that I remember like, what was it? Thanksgiving of 2020 when you came over with that, you had a bottle from the French one,
There's
85.
a max of 85 Bordeaux, Chateau Bel Air. Chateau Bel Air, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. Wow.
And so the funniest thing about that was, so I had a soldier who had just gotten to me and his wife, and they didn't know anybody in the area. They'd been there about 2 weeks. So I invited them over, and good old Sarn League. So they come in, drop the turkey off. You've had that. I think you decanted that wine. It's sitting on the the island there, and I said, "Yeah, help yourself, man. Have whatever you want or whatever." And Lee is the standard traditional infantryman, right? Like he's young. He's just here to do shots. That's what his mindset was. So he grabs a glass of Todd wine, grabs a glass of that wine, and just throws it back in one shot. And I just remember everyone there looking at him like. That shit was hilarious. That was so good.
I have encountered every kind of wine drinker in my 10 years I've been doing this. And I'm not going to hate on people that like don't know anything about wine. I've said that from the beginning. Like, I don't expect you to be an expert when you come to Napa Valley and you're, fresh huckleberries and all that like that. I don't expect it, and I don't even necessarily want it. I want people to be open to an experience, letting their guard down, be vulnerable for a second, and just say, "Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. Teach me something." Happy to do that. And I am in no way an expert. I've got a couple of certifications that mean fuck all compared to the master somms that I've worked with.
That's my certification, buddy, right there.
There you go. Hey, there it is. The Bond girl backing me up.
What's up, all Bond ladies? Okay, yeah, so that's good though. So let me kind of transition over to because I know there's a lot of stuff we could talk about, but I wanted to kind of get into what brought you out to Napa. Like, I know you went to school. I presume it wasn't because you wanted to end up in Napa being a wine aficionado and importing wine as you do now as well. And I know you worked in some pretty high-end restaurants along the way, and you've eaten in some that I want to talk about too, because your most recent is definitely on the list I need to take my daughter to, since it's in the city of Chicago. But anyway, so let's start there. How the hell did you end up where you are now?
Well, I graduated college 2010, High Point University in North Carolina, with a business degree that I had no idea what the hell I was going to do with, and had no plans at all. I went back home to Virginia, where I'm from, and I was, living in a small town, waiting tables with a business degree. Like, what the hell am I going to be doing? The job market was still largely in the toilet from the recession.
Thanks a lot, Obama.
Right. So I just really find my vision, but my entire, since I was 15, I'd worked in restaurants, and I always liked it. I always liked hospitality, and I had some wildly overblown pipe dreams that I might want to be a chef one day.
Which you can cook. I can vouch for that. So.
I'm okay. I'm not on any professional level, but I moved out to California because I had a buddy of mine that was living in San Francisco and talking about how he escaped the little town that we lived in and how amazing it was and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, sounds good. So I saved every dollar of tip money I had, put it in a jar, and bought a one-way ticket to San Francisco. And, packed a couple bags, said goodbyes, and then just said, all right, I'm gonna go figure it out. So I kind of bounced around the Bay Area a little bit. I worked in some fine dining restaurants. And then an opportunity came along for me to move to Napa and work at one of my dream jobs, which was a Thomas Keller 3 Michelin star restaurant, which I dreamed of. So I moved to Napa for that job and worked there for about a year. Sucked for a year. The job that I sucked. I was not cut out for that. And then, so after about a year, I'm back in this situation where I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? And I'm wine tasting. I'm out doing wine tasting because when I had moved to Napa, I took a big interest in wine and all of the subtle nuances to, terroir, which is just our fancy word in the industry for dirt. But it's like how amazingly different one wine is in that field, in that vineyard over there, versus that vineyard right down the street. And it all comes down to, soil composition, microclimate, all this kind of stuff. So I'm listening to all this at every winery I go to and getting interested. And then I'm like, I could do something like this. I have a real interest in it. I see most of the people working here just standing around drinking wine all day. This looks fun. And eventually I ended up where I'm working now. I did a tour there and liked it so much. I asked for a job while I was there and they hired me like the next week. And now I've been there 8 years. And now I've got a whole other thing going on with my import business. So it's.
Well, we're not going to talk about that. All right. So that's Todd Burleson. Thanks for joining us tonight. And
all right. See you later, punk.
All right. Let me back it up. All right. Because this is.
Don't Irish goodbye me like every other time we hang out.
Actually, you kind of like cut down the metal rock out party we had going on the last time. So this is. I don't Irish.
Let's not get into who did what. Or let's not.
Yeah. Pointing the fingers. So let me back up to you got into the Thomas Keller thing you mentioned. You don't have to talk about the restaurant itself, but what made that such a difficult experience? Because I mean, obviously, you walk into that environment. Maybe were you just not prepared, or was there no train?
Honestly,
that you just didn't
what it was. Well, I had been in restaurants for about 13 years at that point, and I had only recently gotten into fine dining.
Yeah.
This is a big leap to go from what I was doing before, the kind of restaurants I was working in, to now you're working at, Michelin quality restaurants with long tasting menus and really obscure ingredients and having to know not only every ingredient in that dish, but how exactly it was prepared by each individual chef and all that. And the thing is, that wasn't a problem. I was happy I really enjoyed that aspect of the job. But it basically just became, after about a year of doing that, I was burnt out. And it's anybody in restaurant business will tell you that, working those really long hours and getting your ass kicked for, anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day. I did that for 14 years, and I just kind of wanted to see a different part of the world. I wanted to see something different. The money is fine, but it's not great. It's not something that I want to retire on. And I always wanted to build something from the ground up. I always wanted to be a part of, having my own company. So it was mostly the complacency that kind of set in after a while. Like, all right, it's just another day doing this thing, which always sucks because like when you get the job, you're so stoked and you're like, oh my God, this is going to change my life. I'm going to learn so much. And I did. But after a year, it just becomes another job.
Yeah.
I remember hearing, I can't remember, I was listening to some podcasts, somebody was talking about like,
so
maybe if you're like, no, I cheat on you all the time. I got a lot of chicks on the side.
You should.
Somebody was talking about like, you live in, if you buy a $15 million house, you move into it and you're like, holy shit, I got a 7-car garage and a basketball court and all this stuff. After a couple of years, it's just another house. It's just another mortgage payment. Yeah. Like it's the
luster wears off, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The luster kind of starts to, the glimmer starts to fade a little. So I don't have any ill will whatsoever towards that restaurant or any restaurant that I've ever worked for. Every single thing that I've gone through has been a learning experience in my life, and I'm grateful for every single one of them. But I knew that I needed a change in my life. I needed to find a passion again, and I found that in the wine industry. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. I think that goes back to something I touched on a few episodes ago, and I know I say it on Twitter a lot. Which, by the way, you can follow me at EricTWBB. Todd's not on Twitter. He'd probably kill it if he ever did, but he's way busy doing other
It
things.
kicked off in 24 hours.
Not now. Now that Elon is giving back our
Even Elon wouldn't like me.
But also, please like and subscribe and share this with your bourbon drinking and non-bourbon drinking friends alike. Anyway, but it's about more, I think, I know me specifically, like, and you sounds like you're kind of along this way or along this similar mindset. The journey's way more exciting than the destination, right? At least for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, like, so I love the build up, the train, whatever it is, whether it's something physical, like whether it's a goal or whatever it's like you're trying to do. Yeah, I've driven across the country, literally across the country the last 3 years, and I love every second of it. And then when it's over, I'm like, what the fuck? When do I get to do that again? That's the type of thing, like, because I just love everything along the way. And then when we get there, it's just like, all right, well, what am I going to do next? And that's kind of how I am.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's a little bit.
If you ever want to take like a 55 Cadillac Eldorado across the country or something, just give me, buddy. Fear.
Yeah, and this may sound pretty bad, but I kind of don't really want to do that trip with anyone. I just want to do it by myself.
I'm a little hurt, but I get it.
Yeah, because I have a real problem with being a passenger in anyone's car. Like, that goes back to high school. I just don't trust people. Yeah. Your connection may be dying.
I completely relate to that.
Like all the Bond villains in the movies, so you might want to work on that connection in the meantime. But yeah, so it's the 56K dial-up you're on, man. It's really starting to drag it out. But
all right. Well, hold on a second.
Yeah, we can't hear you, but we can hear me, but we can't hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you just fine. Everything's fine.
Now you're good. Now I can hear you. Okay, so all right. So with that, and then we've transitioned over. You found yourself into the wine industry, and so you really found a passion into that. And I'm just curious, because you brought up something in the past, like, hey, I just want people to come with an open mind and learn stuff. But before they even get to that point, what do you hope they kind of take away when they leave any type of or like a tasting with you? What do you want them to take away, right? So that they can go on and select wines or know what they're looking for in the future, because anyone goes into any store, you're overwhelmed with the amount of selections, right? So, and most of them suck. Let's be honest, most suck.
Hands down, the most important thing I value when people leave a tasting with me is, did they have fun? Because if they don't have fun, they're not going to remember, and they're not going to appreciate the wines that you even put in front of them. The amount of times that I have seen a tasting fail because the tour guide or the educator is just not presenting the facts in a interesting manner, or it's very low energy or very monotone or something. Bring it up. You're trying to understand.
Joe Biden, low energy, Sleepy Joe. Right. Yeah. Okay.
You got it. Is that another crack on my internet connection?
I mean, it could. But anyway, go ahead. Carry on. Back. Todd Burleson.
I would say you got to don't keep name dropping me if it sucks. I would say you got to be able to appreciate wine from the start and be able to share that in a lively manner and show your true passion if you're doing it. I want people to walk away saying, I learned something, I tasted some great wine, and I had fun. That's the most important thing to me. After that, then you can get into the tertiary aspects of it, if you want to call it that. You can get into, you can get into were we able to try something that was using sustainable practices? Were we able to try something that was, presenting natural wines or something that's good for the environment or what is like that? Those can be secondary objectives there, but I think number one has to be You can relate to people and show them that this wine is not just for the elite and for the hobby and pretentious. Wine is something that's enjoyed by everyone, and you don't have to spend $300 on a bottle of Cabernet from Napa to get that.
Yeah.
Most wine, most of the wine that I have in my collection, I pick up between 20 to 60 bucks, I would say, pretty much everything. I have a few outliers there, but there's great bargains on wine everywhere that you go around the world. Not so much Napa these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, Napa's definitely an outlier. Bordeaux can be an outlier sometimes. But I think the wines that people are most familiar with, from this region tend to be really, really expensive. And then they're only expensive because of the supply and demand. Napa doesn't make that much wine.
That's true.
And
very true. Not a huge area.
It's one of the
people think.
What
did you say? I would say not as big of an area as people think. I would say. No. They assume if it comes from California, it comes from Napa, and they don't realize that California is a pretty large state. What was it? I thought I saw, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that is it 4% of wine from California is from Napa? 4%?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and that they don't do a lot of shipping outside of or to the East Coast, right? Like it's not many of those estates.
Definitely not.
Don't get out there.
Yeah, definitely not the East Coast. Basically, it comes down to like your scale, like what size winery you are.
Yeah.
That you are able to afford that kind of distribution. But I mean, the familiar favorites that people know around here, like Camus and Duckhorn and stuff
like that. Everything. That's all over here. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, you can find that anywhere. Mondavi, certainly. Kendall Jackson, stuff like that. They're everywhere. But not all of that wine is necessarily coming from Napa, and there's things they're doing to manipulate that wine to get it the palatability to reach most consumers. I'm not
like what, Todd? What are they doing to it?
No, I'm not gonna broad stroke. I will say there are some certain well-known wine production facilities that use certain concentrates, additives into wine that give it a.
Why? How did we get to that point where we have to do that? Why? What for?
Well, because consumers are looking for a certain style of wine, and I think in the last 30 years, people have now started recognizing that if the wine that they're drinking from Napa isn't inky black and paints your teeth black as soon as you drink it, that it must be shit. And that's not how it works at all.
Yeah, I don't like
you can blame that on Robert Parker if you want to. You can point a lot of fingers, but the fact of the matter is people want, again, broad strokes here, deep, rich, black, inky Cabernets. That's what has been trending in Napa for so long. And in order to reach that when you're mass producing wine, you can't always get that. But if you want it to be the same every single year, sometimes you got to add some stuff to do that. And it's not
that's dumb. I don't like that on its surface. I think it's stupid.
Nobody does in the wine industry, but that's what you got to do to sell it in some of those cases. And again, I'm not name pointing, but I must say there are concentrates out there that you add to wine that just gives it a deeper, richer, blacker note to it. They call it mega purple around here.
Sounds like some hippie lettuce you Californians would be smoking, some mega purple.
That's a whole different industry, buddy, but we got that locked down too well. But like the problem with that is, because normally like you would say, well, who cares? Whatever, just add concentrate, whatever. The problem is that stuff has a wild amount of sugar in it.
Yes.
And like one glass is equal to like 3 cans of Coke. So
that's called a hangover. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's called diabetes in a bottle. So you got to knock it off. So there are wonderful natural approaches to wine that you can take. Natural wine is really trending right now. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know if it has the, what's the word, quaffability that a lot of people are looking for. It's not. I don't think that it's going to measure up against some of the time-honored Napa Cabernets and stuff like that that aren't using the same natural approaches. We'll see. I don't know. This industry is constantly evolving and constantly changing. New things popping up left and right all the time.
So, I mean, one of the things I like, because, and my brother turned me on to this one. You've heard of Dry Creek up in, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was just there.
Yeah, I love that place. I love I love the Zins. I love Zin, right? And so I could find that at Costco. I mean, you get $17 a bottle. I got my whole fridge is stuffed full of it right now. And that stuff's delicious. Like, I really, really like that. And there was one I was going to ask you about because I keep buying it. That was the first wine I bought when I came out to Virginia. Just not to completely shift it off of California where I want to keep the focus. But have you heard of this Bluestone winery, Bluestone Vineyard? I don't think I have one in there right now. But anyway,
is that Virginia or California?
No, it's in Virginia.
Okay. No, I'm assuming probably Charlottesville area.
I'm going to look it up. Bluestone Vineyard. Contacts. Now, wait, yeah, it is in Bridgewater. Virginia.
Oh, Bridgewater. Yeah, I know exactly what that is.
Well, anyway, I the first weekend I was here, I picked a bottle of it up. It was like 2018. Picked it up, and I was like, "Whoa, this reminds me of Napa." Next one I got was 2019 because all of 2018 was gone. I was like, "Man, it's not changing." And then now they're on this 2020. I had Maddie try it. Maddie's way more refined palate than mine. But if I were to give you this, I would think you might agree with me that it's got some Napa character to it. Like, it actually tastes really, really good. Because all I've been told was like, "Oh, the wine out here is shit." And then, like, the first bottle I pick up, I'm like, actually, for $27, this is pretty damn good.
That's great, man. I'm the first person to tell people drink wine from everywhere. There's no guarantee. And the thing is, if you've been to Napa, you're now setting the bar right there at Napa level, which I mean isn't really fair. Because I'm not saying that Napa is the best wine in the world, but it certainly is making extraordinarily prestigious wines for a reason. It's just like the perfect climate, altitude, temperature, everything is just perfect. But Virginia, I mean, that was, Thomas Jefferson planted the first vines out there. And that's 40 minutes from where I spent most of my life, is right outside of Charlottesville. It's a beautiful area. And I'm glad. What grape was it that you were having? Was it Cab?
It is a Cab. Yeah, it's Cabernet. Yep.
That's fantastic because, I mean, the thing is, I've been telling people the white wines are actually showing quite well in Virginia right now, from what I've seen.
That's what I hear. I haven't tried because I don't really do a lot of white wine until the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's coming up.
It is.
And then the reds, I don't really have any experience with. So yeah, I'll look for that Bluestone and I'll see about.
Yeah, if you can't, we'll trade. I'll send something. I'll see if I can, send you a trophy or something in the shape of a wine bottle. I think it's really, really good. So
how about I send you some Bolivian wine, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're definitely gonna get into the Bolivian wine because I remember we had that tasting. Dan was there, right? I think that you had us try all your stuff. I think Dan was. We were in that. Yeah, we were in the front up, right? And Dan was supposed to be doing something. Dan would be someone cool to talk to eventually on here too, as well. Because Dan has some project or something. I don't.
He's a right. I love Dan.
Yeah. So you bring that up about California and its climate. So how do you think that's going to change over the next 40 years? Because the obvious is happening out there. And now more and more stuff's starting to get really tasty. Like the Pinots up in Oregon and Washington are really, really good. So I was just curious what you think. How many years you think Napa's got left in this, kind of
I'm not counting down the days until the apocalypse here. But
hey, I'm just saying, it isn't that look, Southern California produced great wine for a long time. And now look at it. It's a fucking desert. Okay. The inevitable is happening in Northern California too.
Yeah, but we just got dumped on for 4 months of
Yeah,
rain.
and your governor dumped it back into the fucking ocean because he's an idiot. Anyway.
God, I love talking to you.
I call Newsom governor pick me because he's always on Twitter like attacking every
Oh,
other
God.
governor. He
I'm
goes after
afraid-
every other governor, and I'm just like, governor, pick me, and no one pays attention to him. It's hilarious. I'm like, bro, they're not going to talk to you.
I pray that he enters the presidential race.
That's the only
I
reason
just
he's
want to
doing
see,
this shit.
I want to see him just get torn to shreds by his own state.
That's why, like, I just want total chaos when it comes to this stuff, right? Like, I don't want Trump to be the president again, but if he's going to end up the nominee because DeSantis sits out, I just want Trump and Newsom to be on the same stage together, which it won't happen because Biden's not leaving. But I would just love for Trump to just sit there and talk about California. Because
Newsom wouldn't stand a chance. I would love to hear Trump's nickname for him in the first like 10 seconds.
I want him to take mine, Governor Pick Me, because that's all he is. He's like this little pick me dork on the internet. Like, but your state's doing it. In your state, it's like, bro, no one responds to you. Like, you're the governor of the largest state in the country, and no one cares. Like,
Yeah, where's Schwarzenegger when you need him?
Exactly. Probably sleeping with the help again. I don't know.
You know, he's a member of this.
I was about to say, does he go check outside, see if he's at the locker over there?
He's right outside. He's right outside.
He's right out there.
Wait, what'd you say, Governor?
No, but okay.
Sorry.
So speaking of California wine, we're talking. I was going to ask you when Napa's not going to exist anymore because of climate change. But
Yes, on a lighter note.
yeah.
All right. So, I mean, this is something that the Napa Valley Vendors Association has been talking about for years. Because we see it happen. I've seen it happen. I've only been in Napa for about 10 years now, a little over 10 years. And I've seen it getting
fires. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's every year. It's every year there's a fire somewhere in the state. A wildfire that gets out of control. They can't stop it because this entire state is a tinderbox come August. And it's getting harder and harder. Obviously, it's straining, first responder, that whole industry. Like it's tough on everybody, obviously. But if we can be selfish in the wine industry and talk about us, we recognize that the climate is getting warmer, and we are already in the process of considering replanting grapes that are more conducive to hot climates. Cabernet Sauvignon might start, dwindling away a little bit. I mean, it's pretty hot climate grown or conducive, but you can start planting stuff like Tempranillo, the primary grape that's grown in Rioja in Spain, which is
I like that.
I love Rioja. You might start seeing a little bit more Zinfandel popping up, more Syrah, more Grenache. I mean, the thing is, like, the climate is not that much different here than it is, or it's going the way it already is down in like Paso Robles, where it's much warmer down there. So they have a fantastic wine industry down in Paso. They're making wonderful GSMs, which are like Rhone Valley inspired wines. Rhone Valley primarily specializes in growing Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre. They grow that down there, and that stuff is killer. It is killer. I love it. So we might start going that way. You might start seeing more wine regions opening up. What Washington State is doing these days is amazing.
That's some good stuff from them.
Columbia Valley, Walla Walla, Yakima, they are all making excellent quality wines. I've been very impressed with them. You mentioned Oregon Pinot before. That is definitely a growing thing. There's only so much you can do to kind of prepare for an onslaught of droughts. The irrigation system in California is dog shit, I guess, to put it that best way. Like, reservoirs have not been treated properly. They're not distributing water the way that they should be.
Why would the Republicans do that? I don't understand.
You do a lot of finger pointing at the other side there, buddy. And just so you know, I am moderate. Like I got no dog in the race. I mean,
I'm with you. I'm just saying.
I stay out of the election, and then whatever goes wrong, I point and say, "You guys did it."
That's right. You did that.
I don't care. I take the George Carlin approach to voting. It's like, hey, I stayed out of it. You guys put the wrong guy in office. Obviously, most of the Western Seaboard is a mess right now. You know, when you look at the crime rates, poverty, the homelessness situation, which is out of control, and there's a lot that needs to be done with the state. So I feel like a jackass when I come on and talk about, well, what does the wine industry need to be doing? Like, you know, there's like, really, does that, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem monumentous, but you do have to realize that this is also in the U.S. The last figure I saw is about a $350 billion industry.
The wine?
Not just Napa. I mean, that's nationwide.
Okay, wow.
The wine industry of Napa alone, I've gotten different figures, but they all seem to converge around 43 billion. Just Napa, just the wine.
That's how much Elon paid for Twitter, basically.
Yeah, he could have bought the entire Napa Valley wine industry.
I wish he would. He fixed this place real quick.
In my opinion, it would be a way better investment than Twitter, too.
You definitely get some return on it, for sure. Yeah.
Damn right.
Problem is, like 90% of the employees would quit because they'd be offended. You know, maybe not 90%, but a good healthy percentage would. I'm not working for Elon anymore.
You might be surprised how much of this industry is red state, buddy.
No, I get. Well, it's farmers, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like these are people who actually have to make something.
My dad is as right wing as it comes. As soon as I told him my plans to move to California, he just rolled his eyes to the back of his head. And every time that he calls me and just starts complaining about Democrats, I'm like, Dad, Napa is pretty red. I mean, like, this is, you're absolutely right. This is a major agricultural state. It's not just Napa. I mean, California, if California was a sovereign nation, we would have the fourth largest economy in the world. Like, that's insane. It's largely agricultural.
It could probably have the number one economy if it wasn't run by a bunch of goddamn Democrats.
I saw that coming from yesterday.
I had to say, it's those coastal elitists. No, I'm just kidding. That is pretty wild.
Hey.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people don't realize how big that state is. It's not just like LA and because that's
you enjoyed the fruits of this area for quite a while there, buddy.
I did.
Right?
I always
act like you don't.
But I didn't vote there. I stayed out of it. Like
We did.
I stayed out of that shit. No, I vote where I want my. I still vote where my vote counts on my. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get up to other regions, right? You mentioned Paso, but one of my favorites, because it goes back to the Napa thing. Like, I get it. We don't want it to be like, oh, you know, you don't have to spend X amount on, but tastings in Napa are not cheap. Like, they've kind of priced out, you know, the average person, I guess, unless you're saving up some really good change to go out there for a weekend, because you're going to drop what, 40 to 80 on a tasting, sometimes more than that if you're trying to get some, you know, some of the other shit. But one of my favorite places to go up to was Apple Hill, you know, up into the foothills, you know, and what is it, Barbera that they make up there.
Yeah,
I love
Barbera.
that stuff. Yeah, Barbera and the Zen. So two of my favorites were Boger and Lava Cap. And I love Lava Cap. I was hoping I'd see it out here. I haven't yet, so I'm going to have to make an order from them at some point. But they make two of the, like, their Zen, the Lava Cap Zen is amazing. The Barbera from Boger is amazing. Like, those were wines, and your tastings there are like $5. And you should go wave it.
They don't have a lot of overhead.
What's that?
They don't have nearly as much overhead. You know, a lot of the wineries in Napa Valley. First of all, you start literally from the ground up.
Yeah.
Start talking about the cost of land in Napa Valley. I mean, it's absurd. I mean,
Yeah.
the Rutherford Bench, which is like the kind of the central, the heart of Napa Valley. The land there, I mean, you easily 1.2 million an acre. It's insane. And that's just undeveloped land. You then take into account all of the overhead of actually making wine, all the production, the team that you have, building a tasting room. Which, if you're in Napa Valley, you want to stand out. You gotta build something extraordinary for people these days. You gotta go over the top. I mean, the winery that I work at,
right? It's the same thing with
exactly.
Trail in Kentucky. It's about the experience.
Yeah, now people want food with their wine too, so people are having to, chip in a little extra. Like we're slinging pizzas after our tour at my winery. Like we have to have a full culinary team, in addition to the sales team, the wine team, management, our offices, a warehouse, all that. It all costs a lot of money to do it. Now, if you're a small producer outside of Napa, maybe a lesser known region, your overhead is going to be dramatically less. You don't necessarily have to charge for tastings. That just started happening in the last 15, 20 years, I want to say, probably 20 years ago. People started charging for tastings. Nobody really did that before.
Really? Well, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now you can't get a free tasting anywhere now. I think Heights, I believe, was like the last one that was giving free tastings, and
or some places will waive it if you buy some wine, right? Usually, like some will.
Right. So I mean, a lot of places will do that. They'll waive it.
Then you get into like every bottle is $130 and up, so of course they should waive the taster.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's going to be high.
I know. I'm being a little bit of a fucking elitist to say, but you don't have to spend that much for sure.
No.
It is.
But yeah, they charge for tasting fees because we're getting, as the years progress, you get a lot more tourism, which is great. It's great for everybody. But with tourism, you get a lot of people that aren't necessarily interested in wine. Maybe they're just there to take pictures.
Yeah.
Maybe they're
probably that.
Scoping out a venue for their wedding or something like that. But they're not really.
Dude, I'm telling you, don't get married in Napa. You can't afford it.
Oh, no. Unless your last name is Kardashian or Musk, forget about it. It's wild.
Like, hey, bro, can we get some money for Todd's wedding? Yeah, break us off it.
I don't want a wedding like that, dude. No, screw that.
No, it's
City Hall for me. But yeah, even in Napa, there's only like I think 5 wineries that you can actually legally get married at because you have to have a special permit for that. And most wineries don't want it because it's an enormous waste of time and money.
Why do we have to have a special permit? Because of
bureaucrats. And this is actually one thing I'll give them credit for.
No, I'm just pushing the Democratic button over here tonight. Button.
You need to have like one of those.
Like the reset button that Hillary gave to Putin. Remember the reset? Or no?
What was it? The Staples. That was easy. Like
that was easy.
Yes.
Used to have one.
Yeah.
Used to have
one. That. Except it just goes fucking Democrats. But
you're onto something. That's a good idea. You need to hurry up and patent.
I'm telling you, man. I want my royalty checks.
That's pretty good. That's good.
I'm not just a drinker, I'm a thinker too.
You are. And that's why we get along, Todd, because I'm just a drinker. So I do the drinking, you do the thinking. That's good. It works out. All right. Now this is something I want people to take away because yes, we're speaking in kind of generalities here, but and you make a point that now you do get some pretty crazy fucking wine sometimes. Like I get it. You don't post stuff that's just like, hey, check out this bottle of Bogle I got from Safeway for $8. You post some cool stuff.
Well, I will post when I find something extraordinary for a great deal. I'll happily post that. I don't give a shit about like, no, that's not really, or I don't know. I don't really care what people think. I just know I post stuff that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I'm same way with bourbon, right? I just post everything I find at this point. All-time favorite. What's the all-time favorite one? You had to drink it every day. Rest of your life, every day, I'm drinking this. What is it?
Well, you mean like something I would drink every day, or like just in my life? What's
No. That's a separate question. This is like, hey, this is my favorite wine. It's the only wine I ever get to drink the rest of my life. Your all-time, taking it with you to the grave, and I'm going to steal it at your funeral. Which wine is that? Just say it. You can't take it with you, bro. I'm taking it with me. Back to the house.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. I mean, I can't really argue with that logic.
That's what I do here.
If I had one wine to drink for the rest of my life, I'm torn. I'm torn, but because part of me, like I'm an acid head, and that means I like high acid white wines, like.
Oh, really? You're going white?
Well, here's the thing. So if I'm going white, I gotta go Chablis is one of my all-time favorites. Although, Jesus, Spanish white is really important. I've been on a real Spanish wine kick lately, and I gotta tell you, there's something when you open up like a perfectly aged Lopez de Heredia Rioja. There's just something magical about that wine. I fucking love it. I don't know that I can actually give you one. I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna say Chablis. I'm gonna say
that's interesting.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't expect it from somebody who works in the industry to say what. Fuck, I forgot about Riesling. Oh, damn it.
You would take a Riesling. Wow.
I love Riesling. I love Riesling. It was actually one of the first great wines of my life. I remember the first great wine that got me interested into wine was actually Cabernet Franc from Todd. I remember it vividly. I had just gotten my job in Napa at the restaurant, and it was an '89 Auga Chenin. And I remember tasting that and being like, holy shit, I get it. Like the light bulb came on and it was just like, whoa, this has more to say than any other wine that I've ever encountered. That's what got the ball rolling. And from there, it's just been down the rabbit hole, drinking everything I can get my hands on and trying to narrow the focus into what I really like. But turns out I like it all. So I just have to have a little bit of everything. I get around all the time. Distilled and fermented. I love it all.
Distilled what?
Distilled and fermented.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, fortunately, I talked about this a couple episodes as well. I kind of typecasted my podcast, right? I didn't say, I have like this entire bottom shelf down here that's not pictured. That's all rye and a few overflows. Yeah. But I can't drink those because I
almost went with a rye today. I almost went with a rye.
But well, you can't because this is a show called There Will Be Bourbon, not There Will Be Rye. So what I should have done.
You wouldn't have even let me come on. You wouldn't have let
No, absolutely not. No, I would turn your camera off. And then I'd mute you. So it would just be me talking to myself, which is fine. I can do that. I do that most of the time anyway. It's usually me and Frank just sitting here.
I get more views if you turn my camera off.
Yeah. I should have just said There Will Be Whiskey. But it didn't go with my theme because I stole that from There Will Be Blood. So There Will Be Blood, right? So sorry, we can't have ryes on this show. There will be zero ryes on this show.
What if you're a rye or die kind of guy?
Rye or die, bro. No, I could do it, but I'd have to just.
I said bourbon. Bourbon is my first love anyway. I'm a much bigger fan of bourbon than 100%. I'm a bigger fan
Virginia. Was it just growing up in Virginia or what?
Oh yeah, Virginia, North Carolina. I even got some Alabama roots, so it was like,
yeah, I do that.
We weren't drinking Cabernet back then.
So what's outside of Bowman, bro? I know that, man. I've discovered there's a ton of fucking distilleries. I don't know if you heard of this one. I went to this one last month because a buddy of mine mentioned it on Twitter. Have you heard of Flying Ace Farms?
It sounds familiar. I don't think I've had it though.
The what they make is called American Ace Bourbon, right? It's called Flying Ace Farm. It's also a brewery. It's a really cool property. It's out in Loudoun County, Loudonville, somewhere out there.
Yeah, Loudoun County.
Yeah. Really cool. And actually, the bourbon was actually pretty damn good. I mean, it is a blend of like I think the guy said it was a blend of an 8-year bourbon and an 8-year rye or some shit. Anyway, it's really good. I had a really cool time out there. I've learned that there's a ton of distilleries out here. My only issue with that is I think that's cool, but my issue with like craft distilleries like that is a lot of the stuff that they have is generally not theirs. Because bourbon's not like wine where you make it, you don't have as much of a turnaround. Whereas, whiskey, bourbon, you can't force the time that it takes to make it, right? So a lot of these people start out sourcing from MGP or creating a flavor profile that they struggle to match when they start selling their own. And that's a challenge, right? And that's where the art of distilling comes in. But I am interested in trying some stuff. I've tried Catoctin Creek, I think I've tried. I don't know if you heard of that one. I don't know how familiar you are with the Virginia spirits, but tried that one. There's a lot. I want to try more because, I have an ABC downstairs, which is great.
Downstairs?
Yeah, it's like downstairs.
Nice.
It's like a 5-minute walk from where I'm at right now.
That's good.
Actually, you know what? Let's go. Come on. No.
All right.
Yeah. We'll go live the whole way. But what's weird is they do this lot, like they do these drops because, it's a state-run thing. So they'll send you an email when like all the Buffalo, like when Blanton's gets in. Did I tell you this shit? I haven't told you this. My first experience with that. So, there's all these ABC stores. And so you sign up. They tell you when there's a limited release drop, which is usually the Buffalo Trace shit, Blanton's, Eagle Rare.
Yeah. The widely distributed stuff.
Colonel Taylor. Yeah. Stuff that, one of the best things about California is, you can walk into Target and find a lot of this stuff. But out here you can't, right? So it was probably the second week I was here. My furniture just got delivered. I'm setting up the apartment. Something told me to check my phone. I got an email. It was like 12:19 in the afternoon. Limited drop. The ABC on Joy Street where I live. I'm like, oh shit, that's right down there. Let me go check this. It must have been 9 minutes from the time I read the email to when I finally showed up to the store. And like, as I'm about to walk in, I hear and feel like someone running behind me. I'm like, what the, is something going on? No, this dude just is running across the parking lot to get into ABC. I'm like, oh shit. So he literally runs in front of me, gets in front of me, grabs the last bottle of Blanton's.
Oh my God.
I get it. It's cool because by law, they sell at retail, but I'm just like, dude, there is nothing in me that will run across the fucking parking lot to get a bottle of Blanton's. Like,
yeah,
it's just weird.
I think that's the run of somebody who's going to resell that. I think
exactly. I think exactly
wants to make some money off of that on the secondary market. Who in their right mind sprints?
It was weird because I literally thought maybe something bad was like, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I thought he was in trouble. I don't know what the like. That's my reaction when I see somebody running. Like, what the fuck happened? But,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's funny. I don't think there's any bottle of bourbon that I would sprint down the street to grab last. Because the thing is with bourbon, it's been such an exploding market over the last 20 years that there's so much good stuff out there. There's so much great bourbon out there that, my God, like that shelf that's right there behind you. I've tried most of that with you, and they're all excellent.
Mm-hmm. I don't keep stuff I don't like. If it's something I don't like, I dump it. Like none of this stuff this is all stuff I drink. I'm not saving it. You know what I mean? Like that's a weird thing to me. Like I get it, like this one. This just came out, right? They redid the Castle and Key distillery. This actually was
I remember having that with you.
Yeah, she was the first, I guess, master distiller. She's since moved on, but she opened that distillery, and that's the first product to actually come out of it. And they did it the right way. They waited the 4 years and they offered it up. But yeah, that's you bring up a good transition there. So when is this gonna stop, man? When is this shit gonna get back to normal prices? Do you think that ever happens or no? With Buffalo Trace doubling their production capabilities, do you think that's gonna bring down the market at all at some point? Or is it just
No.
always no, you don't think so?
No, but here's why. Because there's so much money in it to them. Why do you think? All right,
But
it's
the
the same thing.
distillery's not getting any of it, right? They're not getting that. They don't get the $5,000 markup for a bottle of Pappy. They get the $329 that they sell it to this distributor for.
It's pretty good, but it's the market itself is creating that because you have this happens like all right. It happened with Blanton's. It happened with basically every
Elmer T,
bourbon.
Stag Junior, Stag,
God,
all of them, the whole antique collection, all of it.
Jesus Christ.
It's just fucking normal shit.
It's what happens. Yeah, exactly. It's what happens when it's either the marketing team of the distillery or it is going to be the secondary market saying, holy shit, this is great. You need to be drinking this. The fucking bloggers going out there creating lists on BuzzFeed, the top 30 bourbons that you should be drinking, but you've never heard of. And like, then that comes out and then all of that is sold out and impossible to find. That market is kind of self-sustaining. And it's brought a lot of success to really small producers, which I like seeing. It's good to see. But then inevitably, a huge conglomerate's going to come through and just give them a blank check and buy them out. This happens all the time in the wine industry. The amount of wineries that Gallo, Constellation Brands, Treasury Estates, Trinchero, like all these guys just come through. It just happened 6 months ago, maybe. One of the most famous wineries in Napa Valley, Joseph Phelps, got bought out by Louis Vuitton.
What?
So
Louis Vuitton's buying wine now? Gee, great. So
they have their own beverage company. They own Hennessy. They own
that's
Dom
right.
Perignon.
That's right. I do remember the Hennessy thing. So
Yeah,
great. Now you can go to the
LVMH.
Joseph Phelps winery and you can buy a purse.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, one purse with every purse of a case.
Oh yeah, comes in a purse as the bag. That's cool. Whatever.
It's silly, but you know what? It's happening. It happens left and right. So the mom and pops get a little success. They get brand recognition, and then a big company says we can make a lot of money off of that in the long term. So let's just take that, mass produce it. Nobody will know the difference, and put it on every grocery store in America. It works. But then, so I've talked to winemakers who have been a part of a mass-produced wine, let's say, something that's in every grocery store. And I had a friend actually have the balls to say this to the winemaker. He's like, how can you kind of like sell your soul to the devil? Like, you know what you're making here, and it's $5 a bottle in every grocery store in America. Like, do you enjoy it? And he goes, listen, this winery pays me enough to be able that I can go off and do all my own side projects. I have my own label on the side. That's my passion project. This place pays the bills, so I can. Maybe that's what it comes down to. Everybody needs to be able to make a few bucks to be able to work on their true passion. It's what's happening to me right now. I'm still working at the big winery in Napa so that I can afford to do my passion.
First day with the new mouth. Sorry. Wow, look at that. We call that a transition. So let's talk about, before we get into the restaurant stuff that I really want to get into as well, because you eat some good food like myself. So what is this passion project? Because I don't have them with me. You got one. You got a bottle with you, right?
Yeah. So
let's talk some Llama wines.
This is actually the wine that started our company. So you can see that.
And I ordered 2 of those, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a dark label, but it says tree.
Yeah. Tree.
Right. So this is a wine from Bolivia. a country that very few people could actually even point out on a map where it is, and way few people even recognize that they have a wine industry, including myself, until about 3 years ago. I had no idea, but it turns out Bolivia has been making wine as long as California has. Basically, the same way that everybody in the Western Hemisphere has vineyards, same way with Bolivia. Spanish missionaries brought them over back in the early 1600s. Traveled all the way down through Mexico, through to South America. Started out, I want to say, in Peru, and then made his way through like Uruguay, into Bolivia, and then eventually to Argentina. So while most people recognize South American wine, they immediately go, oh, Argentina Malbec or something like that. Actually, Bolivia was making it before they were. But what makes Bolivia so special is that all of the vineyards, every one of them, are sitting at a minimum of 5,200 feet up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy elevation.
Yeah.
There are higher vineyards in the world, but it's like an example here and there, like pinpointed around. As a whole, for a wine region, these are the highest collection of, highest elevation collection of vineyards in the world. And I found that really interesting. The way I got introduced to it, I was the Napa winery that I still am employed at. About 3-4 years ago, I was taking care of some members that I've been taking care of for many years, and they brought some friends of theirs, and we all got along great. We had a good tour, and then afterwards, I was invited out with them to join them, at their hotel around the fire pit. They're going to open some wines and just relax and have a cool night. I'm like, sounds good. I'll bring a bottle. We'll hang out. So we all start chatting, and then this friend of a friend starts talking to me. He says, I just started my own wine import company. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, French, Italian, Spanish, what you doing? And he goes, Bolivian. I'm like, huh? Bolivia? I didn't know they had a wine region. He's like, no one does. But he's like, my family is from there. And I've been going there since I was a kid. And I fell in love with their wine. And I've been buying it for years. But no one in the U.S. imports it. And he's like, I just started my company, and I'd like you to be the sales director. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, not a bad conversation around the fire, right?
I know, right? So, I wasn't expecting a job offer, but I was like, this really intrigues me. So, you just eyeballing your selection back there?
Oh, I'm listening.
What's next?
I'm just going to
That old Forester? Nice.
Yeah, 1910.
Good
Keep
stuff.
going. Keep going. Yeah.
So I said, all right, I'm interested. I would love to be a part of a business that starts from the ground up and we build it. I've always wanted to do that,
Right.
but I'm not going to sell shitty wine.
Exactly.
So I need to try these. I need to try these wines first. I'm not good enough of a salesman to sell shitty wine.
Can confirm. No, I'm just
Okay. You son of a bitch.
sorry. I don't edit either. I can't take that.
No, yeah, I can't. like you know what you're doing editing. Come on.
That's exactly why I don't.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I got time for all that shit.
I'm not going to do a 15-minute YouTube tutorial.
Jesus. Yeah, exactly. No time.
So anyway, he ends up inviting me over to his house. We have a nice little dinner party. He pours me all the wines that he's imported. And I'm going down the list. I'm trying all of them. He's like watching me like, what do you think? And I'm trying all of them. I'm thinking these are impeccably balanced. Like exactly what you want in a really great and interesting bottle of wine. It has fruit, it has earth, it has acid, it has the tannin, it has the nuance and the finish, and it's just like they're beautifully crafted wines. And I'm really just surprised that a wine of this caliber has not landed in the U.S. and I just can't figure it out. Especially considering those wines have been made for the last 400 years.
That is nuts.
So what it basically comes down to is there was just not a market for it. People weren't familiar with it. They weren't working on the kind of scale that U.S. importers wanted to bother with. So my friend Edward went up and just started his own company. And he approached the wineries and said, you know, I want to start this company. Would you be willing to sell me some wine wholesale? And, you know, we get this thing started and I'll show you what we can do. We currently have 2 wineries in our portfolio and 12 SKUs total. At the moment, Edward is in Bolivia right now. He is back there. He is reordering more for us. He is picking up new accounts. We're growing the business. We had a phenomenal 2022. We sold a bunch of money direct to consumer, or a bunch of wine direct to consumer. Made a lot of new accounts, both in restaurants, wine bars. But we have to continue to grow a lot so that we can afford to make these reorders. So we are picking up accounts left and right from the East Coast. Surprisingly, last week I picked up 3 new orders from the East Coast. People I've never met, don't know how they found us. I emailed them and asked them, "How'd you hear about us?" A lot of times, like, "Oh, a friend told me about Bolivian wine. We Googled Bolivian wine, and you're the only thing that comes up." I'm like,
you think that should be maybe your target? Because I mean, if you're dealing with the stigma of California as your competition from the bat, you know, but if you focus maybe on the East Coast, that might be able to help you.
"Oh, we're going to be getting more on the East Coast too."
Yeah.
The thing is,
I think they'd be more receptive than probably the California crowd.
I agree. I've had that exact same conversation with Edward. I feel like I'm kicking water uphill in California because it's not to California's fault. We make outstanding wine here, and that's what people want to do. I get it, of course. But like, if you go to wine shops on the East Coast, if you're in like New York, New Jersey, DC, you have some wine shops out there that have amazing selection, like European selection.
Yeah.
We don't have nearly as much European selection out here because why would you? It's all California. So out there, you guys have actually way more diversity of selection than we do here. So
yeah, I'm gonna need you to give me some European guidance. Not right now, but in the future. I need to pick up some different stuff. You know what I mean? I just need to try different things. I like French wine though, so that's good. But anyway, go ahead. We're back on. We're on Bolivia right
now. At the end of the day, just go out and try it. You know?
Yeah, that too.
But yeah, Bolivia really, really piqued my interest because I've never heard of it. Most of my colleagues in the industry have never heard of it. I'm talking to sommeliers who are like, "I've heard about Bolivian wine, but I've never tried it." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course you haven't, because it hasn't ever been imported. Unless you've been to Bolivia."
Yeah, exactly.
Or you know somebody who has and brought some with you. You don't have it. So there was one other company in the United States that was importing Bolivian wine. And I appreciated what they were doing. They had a lot of philanthropy behind their wine and giving the money back to Bolivia. It was a great company, but unfortunately they got killed during COVID. And so we were one of 2 importers in the U.S. Now we are one of 1. We are the only Bolivian wine importer. And
good to be king.
Yeah, well, king in quotes. We're king by default, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes that's how it happens. You know, you outlive your enemy.
But that's the thing. Well, I didn't want to think of him as our enemy at all. In fact, I was actually suggesting that we might partner up with him because we're fighting for the same cause. Our CEO is from Bolivia, and he wants to be able to bring the pride back to his country of a phenomenal wine region. And so far, everybody that I've poured this wine for has been impressed by it, and including myself. And I'm proud to sell for this label. And yeah, you're a fan.
I was, yeah.
I know you.
And I finally was able to get it like I wanted. So yeah, I'm excited for you to show the hell up and to show it to Maddie and all as well. I'm looking for something I want to send you because you're right. You bring up something that makes a ton of sense and people need to just try stuff. So I was at this restaurant in DC, I think a few weeks ago. And I had a wine from Palestine and it was delicious. It was delicious. I'm trying to find it so I can show it to you because apparently it's all over the States now on this side, at least, so you can find it. But I need to find it myself.
I have never had a Palestinian wine. I've had Israeli wine. I've not had this Palestinian.
Yeah. We've had Israeli wine with it's not kale. Who's the other winemaker that Maddie works with? Not kale. Anyway. His name is like right, and it doesn't matter. All right. But yeah, so I've had some Israeli stuff, not much, but this was absolutely incredible. I just wish I could find it because I'm just scrolling through stuff, and you know what? I know how I can find it even easier. So getting back to the Llama wine stuff. So where can people find it? Number one, if they hear it on here and they want to make an order, great. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's always possible, right? So where could they find it? Is Todd frozen? Todd's frozen. Todd's frozen at the moment. We'll see if he can get his connection back on. And I will text Todd and tell him he's frozen. Todd, you are frozen, bro. If you can't hear me, you're frozen. So bear with us as we try to get Todd back. He is doing his podcast from a cigar bar with some spotty Wi-Fi, but that's fine because I can talk forever until Todd shows back up. So what I'm trying to do is find this Palestinian wine that I had a few weeks ago, if not last month at some point. Absolutely incredible stuff. Oh, there's Todd. Wi-Fi went down. He's reconnecting. Have no fear, ladies and gentlemen. He is reconnecting. So that's a good thing. Oh, I hear it. I think he's back. Damn, there it is. He's unfrozen. Like, Todd's doing a movie called Unfrozen. So there he is. As I continue to effort this. Yeah, I'm efforting this search to send you this because trust me, talking by myself is never going to be a problem. So don't worry. Yeah. So the Llama wines. How do people find this stuff?
So we have, you can either go to llamawines.com. I just lost you.
Llama. No, I'm here.
That's LLAMA. We have a big online presence. Big shout out to Mr. James Gallagher, our COO, who built that website for us and did a phenomenal job doing it. I promise the website runs way better than my Wi-Fi is running right now.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, well, James didn't put up the Wi-Fi in this dump here, so. So llamawines.com is a way to reach out to us. You can actually email me directly from the site if you're interested. This is really the only way to get Bolivian wine right now in the United States is specifically through us, which definitely a feather in our cap, and I'm proud of that. And I'm really excited to see a few months from now, once we get a reorder from Bolivia, how many new accounts, how many new wines we can offer. Ed has been sending me pictures from Bolivia.
How is it? Are you going to go? When are you going?
Oh, eventually I'm going to go. Yeah, we weren't able to do it earlier this year, but the pictures that he's sending me, I'm going to see if I can actually.
All right. I just sent you a picture as well of this Palestinian wine that I highly recommend you figure out a way to acquire and try. Absolutely awesome. Great stuff. Who's the Bond girl directly over your head that's skiing?
I can't tell which one that is.
So literally the
choose
one,
from- This one here.
that one, yeah.
I don't know which one she is because the thing is she's wearing dark sunglasses and a hat. I think she might be from Russia with love. I'm not sure.
Oh, there's no names. That's a bummer.
No, there's no names.
Yeah,
So I don't know if you can see it. Does this show up at all?
it does a little bit. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, that is Tarija, Bolivia. So that's where
Looks
the
like Napa.
primary. It really does. I know it's the wine region is actually very similar climate-wise, surprisingly given the altitude. But it stays really dry, really arid up that high up. And because of the air is a lot thinner, more UV light gets through, and it actually ripens the grapes more. So it's actually a surprisingly conducive region to winemaking.
So what's the
but Ed is down.
what's the best varietal that they produce then, or what's the most? I guess what's the star of that region?
I would say probably the Malbec is getting the most attention, but then again, that's also just because of already our preconceived notion that South American wine is all Malbec.
Makes good Malbec. I love a good Malbec. Malbec's great.
It's great. Our Malbec is great. We make a wonderful Cabernet. Their Tannat is outstanding, and that's definitely a lesser known grape.
Yeah,
it's Tannat. It originates mostly in France from the Nadiran region, but it's I think more well known to wine drinkers from Uruguay. So still South American roots.
Yeah.
But Tannat in Bolivia is much softer. It's like your dad would say,
smooth.
And it's just surprisingly complex. It's a bunch of like floral and earthy notes in Bolivian wine, which I just crave.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's all the fruit bombs of California and Napa. It's just like
it's a little much.
enough. I'm a huge fan like you of French wine. I love a little earth and spice and
blood. Like that. There's this.
Yeah. There's some of that cigar box, bro.
Yeah.
Love it.
Like that. I'm not gonna lie. That 85 you brought over for Thanksgiving, I thought I was drinking blood. That's what it tasted like to me. Like felt like Dracula. It's like.
Yeah, man. That's
So that's what we're doing, because it sounds like it's just a marketing thing that we're missing out on. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a spinoff called There Will Be Wine, right? We're going to change this to a wine glass.
well, just do an and or bourbon and or wine, you know.
Yeah.
Just cover all your bases.
It'll be great.
But
Did I
honestly,
tell you
like,
they lost the original when I moved out here? This is not the original. They lost it.
Is it really?
Yeah, they lost it.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I paid the movers $50 to take the original.
That's all right, because I told them the value of it was significantly higher, and they paid me. I said, "Look, this is a one of one. I can't go just pick up another one. It's literally me on a canvas."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to get this replaced.
It's my entire business.
Seriously, like, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, I hope they're listening so they know how much I fleeced them on that.
That's right. Right. So
yeah,
I smell a lawsuit.
Come and get me, whatever. No, that's great. I'm excited.
I want to say something about how we relate bourbon, wine, all of this stuff. I told you earlier, I'm a lover of all things fermented and distilled. I just love this whole industry. I love the people in it that you meet, yourself included.
That's me.
And there are so many parallels when you get in. I mean, the importance of the barrels alone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you talk about,
type of oak and all.
Yeah, the exact kind of oak, whether it's French or American oak. If you're doing bourbon, if it's what state.
So what are you guys aging the Bolivian stuff in? Is it
Bolivian's largely French? This
Friends.
spring.
Okay. Do they grow, like, this is a dumb, ignorant question, but do they grow oak trees down there? I don't fucking know.
It's a good question. I actually don't know that.
That's
if
what I'm
they
here
do
for.
it, I mean, I spoke to the winemaker from our primary winery that we're importing from, Campos de Solana, which is one of the largest wineries in Bolivia. And he told me, I went down the list of like all the questions I had for him, how the whole production and everything. And he told me it was largely French oak. But
So one of your
didn't even
questions
think about,
needs.
do you have oak?
Yeah. So you need we call
They
it an
did.
RFI. We call it an RFI in the Army government world. It's a request for information. You need to hit him with an RFI, like, do you guys have your own oak trees there? Okay. Because the French are known for quitting. You don't want to be putting your wine in a barrel of quitters.
That is true, but
Is
they
that what
do
you
have
want? I know that they do. Which is what I talked about. Like, Todd, I don't know if you've had this yet, but this Maker's Mark where they refinish it in a French oak, that stuff is incredible. And I've always talked about, I was like, glad someone stole my idea from 10 years ago, but like, I get it. Bourbon, it's American, has to be an American oak. I'm all about it. But have we tried putting whiskey in other types of oak? Because it could change the flavor, right? It definitely does.
Well, see, I'm concerned that bourbon, remind me and correct me if I'm wrong, and I already apologize to all my bourbon files out there that so by law, it must be aged in American oak, right?
Yes, and it has to be a new charred oak barrel. Can't be reused.
New charred French oak barrel.
No, American oak barrel.
American, excuse me, American.
Yes.
But in the finishing process, can you switch to French?
Yeah, still bourbon because you're putting bourbon into it. You ended that process. Now you're just finishing, right? Yeah.
So that's exactly why that like somebody like Angel's Envy or something can finish in old wine barrels.
Port
like that,
wine,
right?
yeah. I just saw this Bowman Brothers. They got this. What did I just see? I was in an ABC store. I don't think it was rum. Was it a rum cat? I don't know. There's something. Everyone's doing this finishing in these, which is, the irony of that is when they.
Right.
Yeah, the irony of that though is these are just previously used bourbon barrels that are just making the rounds, so they're refinishing. They're just refinishing them.
It's like a bicycle.
Yeah, like I would honestly, I think that's a good question, man, because if you can make the entire process Bolivian, that might be a better way of marketing.
It really just comes down to the availability of white oak. There's a lot in France, there's a lot in America. Hungarian oak has become very popular in the wine industry. There's a few Eastern European countries, Russian oak, Lithuanian oak, stuff like that dotted here and there. But like, it really just comes down to not only the availability of the oak, the cost of harvesting it and all that, but also the flavor. Because as you know,
terroir
isn't just American oak across the board. All of it tastes
all about
the same.
The soil.
Specific states taste completely different.
Yeah.
That's
the big thing with bourbon. It's that, some years of those oak trees are better than others. It's fucking science, man. Right. It hurts your head. You start really
well, because the winery where I work in Napa, we do a lot of single barrel Cabernet production, and it allows people to taste the difference that the barrels make.
Yeah.
And one thing will taste the same. We'll taste two wines aged in American oak. One's from Minnesota, one's from Missouri. Completely different flavors.
Yeah, totally different.
Missouri tastes like bacon, barbecue, brown sugar, all of that. Bourbon. It tastes like bourbon. Minnesota oak tastes like coconut.
Almond Joy. Almond Joy. Let's go.
You say it, yeah. Almond Joy barrel. Yeah. So it's a completely different. And then whatever other state you get, Pennsylvania or Oregon oak or something like that, completely different flavors.
Right. Well, it sounds like we need to buy some farm and plant some oak trees in Bolivia. What it sounds like. Farmland's got to be way cheaper than 1.2 million an acre.
I don't know. I've looked at I think the cannabis industry in California is went pretty strong for a while. Maybe we should take that in there.
I don't want nothing to do with that. I think it's I think it's just the dumbest thing we've ever done as a country, to be honest with you. It's so stupid. Like, it smells awful. It's horrible. It's just a bunch of fucking idiots sitting around like, oh, I can smoke weed now. It's like, yeah, great. You could always smoke weed. Now you're just a dork doing it legally. I'm sorry if you're blowing a blunt after this. I just can't stand the smell of it. Like, if we're going to genetically engineer this shit, just make it smell better. Like, why does it got to smell so awful?
I guess that's like how people feel about cilantro, you know. And
I love cilantro.
You're a freak of nature. There's something wrong with you.
You don't like cilantro?
Fuck no, it's disgusting.
What? Wow, it's disgusting. He says cilantro rice, a little lime juice, a little cilantro, mix it in with your rice.
I feel like I just licked a bar of Irish Spring.
Ooh, Irish Spring. The Irish never quit. You don't remember the tagline? The Irish never quit. This is so good. I love that. I don't know where it came from.
I wish they would.
You know, I used to feel that way about parsley until I discovered Italian parsley. That stuff's delicious. Like, it's just lemony and bright. Like it.
I love parsley.
Italian parsley is great. I mean, I grew up in the restaurant where they used to, like Denny's, where they'd slap the slab of it on the sides. Like, what do I do with this? I don't know.
Yeah, right. There's like that shitty piece of like fake lettuce or whatever, and like the orange slice.
Yeah, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Do I eat this, or is this just here? I don't understand.
It's just there. It's just there.
Again, great transition. Let's get into some food. All right. So in the meantime, if you're here, llamawines.com, get yourself some Bolivian wine, give it a shot, give it a whirl. It's not a crazy price point that you can't afford to try yourself some of it. So
everything between like 25, 35 bucks. It's very.
It's good. I'm looking forward to it finally arriving and stuffing my fridge with it. Yeah, that one. So you go to some really cool restaurants, which I love. And I know you worked in one of the coolest ones that well, at least by reputation. Our governor, or not our governor, your governor likes to hang out in it.
You won't stop. You won't stop.
It's been a while. It's been like 30 minutes. The one that Governor Pick Me was seen in, you know, the French Laundry. You've eaten there. And you recently just went to Alinea, right, in Chicago.
I did. Yeah.
Okay, let's backwards. Let's go backwards. Let's talk Alinea, because this is one that I've. God, what's the chef's name? Is right on the tip of my tongue. And
Grant Acus.
Yes, really interesting story, right? Like, this guy was already. Was he already a Michelin level chef before his cancer, and he lost like his sense of taste and all that shit, or was he?
No, that was prior. That was prior, which is even more impressive. If you've ever had the chance to read his book, not Devil, that's somebody else. Life on the Line.
Life on the Line.
Life on the Line is incredible. It's exactly that. He got tongue cancer.
Like, who gets that? That's so fucking random.
It's so strange. And then, like, of all the cancers to get for a chef, cancer is already horrendous enough.
Yeah.
And then he beats that, and then becomes easily one of the most famous chefs and celebrated chefs in the country. It's amazing. So I ate there. We're BFFs now.
Did you? Oh, you got to hang out. That's cool.
No, actually. I wish that would be cool. But no, he wasn't there that night. But I got to tell you, that was I would definitely put it, if not the best, definitely maybe second place best meal I've ever had in my life.
Oh, okay. That's a good follow up. So keep going.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, the creativity. What I always loved about Grant and Alinea is that they take this really fine dining, very, very fancy experience, and they boil it down to your childhood memories and playfulness and just having fun and surprising you with stuff throughout the meal, stuff that was hiding in plain sight that you never expected, and just like it's fun. It's we sprung for the reserve wine tasting, absolutely worth it. We learned a lot. we saw just like the coolest dish, like the stuff that he does with potato starch will make you want to shoot yourself in the head. Because you're like, I never would have thought in a million years to do as cool of shit as he did with potato starch. I don't want to go into the specific exactly what everything was because I'm sure they don't want everybody talking about. I don't take pictures. I don't like doing that. I leave that to my girlfriend.
Yeah, I was gonna say I take pictures.
I don't like to do it because I took one picture at the very end for the dessert course. That was it.
Is that when they still break everything on the table or what? They still
Yes, yeah. They roll
so
out
cool.
like that, and basically they paint the table with like ice cream and chocolate and all this.
Yeah, that looks fucking awesome.
Fucking awesome, man. That's really cool.
Did you get to do the floating sugar balloons or some shit? Is that still a thing?
Yes, yeah, we got the balloon. That was amazing.
That's so cool.
That's one of those things. They kind of took a page out of Thomas Keller's book, who is his mentor.
Yeah.
And Keller always did at French Laundry. The first thing that you get is something out of your childhood. It's an ice cream cone, but it's not ice cream. It's what they call a salmon cornet. So it's salmon tartare on like a little ice cream cone. It's like that big, but it's so goddamn delicious, and it's so playful and fun. And people are just immediately like your first thing, you just laugh. It's just fun.
It's like, now the mood's set, so you're gonna everything you taste is gonna be good no matter what.
Exactly. I mean, I always whenever I worked in fine dining. And I had customers sit down. I could feel nervousness off of them for a meal if they didn't do this normally, if they weren't into fine dining, 3 Michelin stars, kind of stuff. First thing I would do is tell a joke. I'd just bust their balls a little bit, or just like have fun with them, get them to drop their guard, because I want them to say, I wanted them to realize, guys, it's just food.
Yeah.
If the whole experience is about you having a good time and having fun, you're not going to eat the food wrong. We're not going to be standing in the corner giggling and laughing at you. Haha, what a joke. We're too busy to do all of that. So don't worry. Yeah. So I love going to these kinds of restaurants and just watching how playful they get with the food and where the inspiration comes from. I think it's one of the best ways that you can tell a story about your life and about your experience is with food. And as I spent my entire career in restaurants, so I have so much passion for it, and I love it more than anything. I love cooking for people, but I love eating people's cooking even more.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Because I have to do the dishes afterwards.
Well, okay, so I know it's kind of crazy. How long in advance did you have to sign up for trying to get a reservation of anything?
So that's a good story. I like this.
Actually, I just walked in.
Yeah, right. I almost did. So I was planning on, because you need about, I think the calendar resets like you can make a reservation up to 2 months in advance. I think that's what it is.
Okay, that's not bad.
And I forgot to make my reservation. And Lily, my girlfriend, called me on that about maybe 3 weeks before we went to Chicago.
So you guys were going to Chicago for this specifically, right?
No. This was a big highlight for me.
Oh, it's a great restaurant.
Reservation, right? I'm like, yeah, I think. Did I? So I immediately pull out my phone and I check, and there's actually availability. I couldn't believe it, but
oh shit, that's awesome.
They actually had seating available, so I lucked out, man. I would have been so furious with myself.
Yeah. I remember staying in Chicago. You got so many options anyway. It's a great food city.
Dude, I fell in love with Chicago. It is
I love that
such
city.
a fun city.
It is.
I would live there in a heartbeat.
The winter sucks, but
The winters are brutal.
But they have great food, so that's all that matters. You can stay inside in a restaurant.
Exactly. Dude, we ate at so many great Winton Bavette's. I had some of the best steakhouses in America.
Outside of Vegas, it's my favorite city for food.
I still have not experienced Vegas yet.
Oh, I don't know why we haven't gone. I think we should go. Just because I mean, you're talking food, restaurants, like literally the greatest restaurant, all within a walking distance of everybody. I mean, Vegas there's just every chef you can think of has a fucking restaurant there. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, I have no interest in
I don't care about it. No.
And I don't give a shit about it.
I just go for the food.
Just for the food.
Yeah, I go for the food and the drinks, and that's it. But anyway, you were saying back to Alinea, you're there. What the hell? 3 weeks out, you got us hot.
Got it, barely. We were super excited to go. I left them a bottle of our top wine from Llama.
Oh, nice.
I left them a bottle with the sommelier just as a thank you, and just like, hey, in case you like it.
Yeah, hey, hit me up. My name's Todd. Have they called?
Gave my card and all that. We'll see. Haven't heard from them yet, but it's only been a couple weeks. But that Alinea was outstanding, and I gotta tell you, the service really spot on. I mean,
it's what makes everything.
From the moment you walk in the door, you are immediately greeted very warmly by everyone, and everyone takes phenomenal care of you. I was very impressed across the board. That being said, I gotta hand it service-wise. I don't think anybody beats Le Bernardin in New York. That was above and beyond. I was very, very, very impressed with that. I try to do a 3 Michelin star once a year, every year.
So you've been to other 3 Michelin star restaurants aside from Alinea and French Laundry?
6 or 7 now.
Oh, damn. Okay. My cap, I hit a 2-star in San Francisco, which I thought the service at that place was by far the best I've ever had.
Where'd you go?
I got to look this up. It was Valentine's last year. It was a steak. I believe it was a steakhouse, and I will get you the actual answer on that. I wanted to, while I searched for this, what was my follow-up to, you said this was like top 1, if not number 2. Well, so what was what potentially beats that out?
I would say all right, I'm going to give service number 1 to Le Bernardin in New York. Eric, it's incredible restaurant there. Plus, my girlfriend has a huge crush on Eric Repair, so I figured.
That's a bummer.
That'd be cool. He wasn't there, unfortunately. Actually, it's probably a good thing he wasn't there, because I would have lost a girlfriend.
Somebody who's like 70, that's awful. No.
Yeah, and he's French.
He's a quitter. He's a quitter by nature.
No, not that guy. He's amazing. But anyway, I got it. I think it would actually have to go to my first 3 Michelin star restaurant experience ever, which is in San Francisco, Atelier Crin. Atelier Crin is run by Dominique Crin, one of those badass chefs. I actually had the pleasure of working with her once. Before I moved to Napa, I was working at a fine dining restaurant in Sacramento, and she was we were doing a celebrity chef pop-in series. We were going to get different chefs like the city come in. And
all right, real quick, before you continue, it was Nico Steakhouse.
Oh, yeah, I know Nico. Yeah.
That was awesome.
I haven't been, but I know it well.
All right. Okay, so we're in San Francisco.
Yeah, so Dominique Grant runs that one. And so this one, it might even be too artsy-fartsy even for you.
Ooh, I like it.
And I know how much you like your artsy-fartsy.
Yeah, I'm big into the art scene.
Well, if you do like it, so when you sit down, they don't give you a menu. They give you a poem. It's a poem that they write a new one like every night that describes the menu. So every like stanza in the poem represents a different dish that you're going to be getting. And it's so cool. It's so cool. But in every dish that they bring to you is a masterpiece work of art. I remember throughout the menu that I was tasting, every single time I took a bite, it was the greatest thing I'd ever eaten. It's like continually topping itself as like the best thing I've ever put in my mouth.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was very, very happy with that experience. And I've done, I got to say, the most full I've ever been, where I was just like, please stop, no more, I can't take it, was in Healdsburg, California, at Single Thread.
Single thread?
And that was another, which one?
Single thread, you said?
Single Thread, yeah.
Oh.
That one, I think they opened like 5 years ago, something like that. Relatively new. They have their own farm out back. They grow everything themselves. The first first thing they brought out was a log that for each one of us had, I believe, 10 or 12 different plates of like sashimi and sushi, like little bites. So like 10 bites is your first course. And then they just kept it coming, and more and more and more and more. The wine pairings were spot on, everything. It was just, that was another awesome experience. And they had the coolest toilet I'd ever seen.
Oh, was it gold?
Japanese toilet.
Oh.
You walk into the bathroom, it opens up, it speaks to you, has all kinds of very nifty, questionable features on the end.
The coolest toilet I ever saw was in a Jordanian customs house. It was an Eastern toilet. You know what an Eastern toilet is?
Was it just with a built-in bidet?
It's just a hole in the ground, man. It's not cool at all. I want you to. that's
I was like, the way you described this can't be a great toilet. Like, what?
not at all. It's awful. A bidet is great. Yeah.
Jordanian customs. Like,
Yeah, we were in the Jordanians customs for.
hole in the floor, huh?
Yeah, just the hole in the floor, man. Oh. Yeah, I wish, you know, that's one thing that we could talk, you know, different styles of bathroom etiquette, but the bidet really needs to be more widespread in this country because it's just
I 100% agree.
that and the warming toilet, like the warming the seat warmer, like the warm seat.
Seat warmers?
Yeah.
The greatest thing in the world. It's the best.
Yeah, like the bidet is just a great invention. I don't understand.
You know, at the end of the day, you know,
Like, are we holding out because it's just like, no, we didn't come up with it, so we're not going to sell bidets? Like, they should be in every house and apartment everywhere.
all right, I gotta ask. Did you see the more recent episode of South Park with the Japanese toilets?
No, I didn't.
It started the conversation. Buddy. Why are we wasting so much money and killing so many trees on toilet paper?
Yeah.
We need to incorporate the bidet.
I mean, if everybody had a bidet during the COVID pandemic shutdown, nothing this toilet fucking paper shortage would have been an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
We wouldn't have cared. I had to buy like a 30 roll from China on the dark web, you know. It was awful.
I believed you right up until you said that you bought it from China. Then you lost me.
China. No, I'm gonna send you my order. I got my order history. I'll screenshot that and send it to you. I'm gonna send you so many pictures tonight. Eastern toilets, yeah, all kinds of shit. Literally all kinds of shit. Sounds great. All right.
Not literally. Okay, I don't need to see that.
No, we don't need to see it. Did I cover? I want to see if I've covered everything because we've hit a good mark. You've done some good stories. I appreciate the restaurants. Oh, that's what I meant. Have you heard of this, the Lost Kitchen show on HBO? Have you seen that restaurant in Maine?
Lost Kitchen? No, I haven't heard of it.
Oh, okay. Well, let me bring that to your attention. The Lost Kitchen. It's on HBO. It's got like 3 seasons of it, but yeah, I don't know what their Michelin stars are, but it's just like this absolutely incredibly renowned restaurant at this point. From this, woman who grew up in Freedom, Maine, moved away and ends up going back and starts up a restaurant, and all of a sudden it's like one of the most difficult places to get a table in the entire fucking world. And it's incredible food. And she's not formally trained at all, but she's taught herself how to do all this stuff. 3 seasons on HBO, and they're accepted.
Really?
They're accepted. The only way they accept reservations is you have to mail in a postcard. And from April 1st to May 15th, they randomly draw a postcard and they call you and let you know if you get to have a table. It's fucking cool as shit. It's awesome. I'm sending postcards in. I'm trying to get noticed. I want to go.
This sounds like it's going to turn out like the ending of The Menu. Did you ever see that movie?
No, I need to though.
You haven't seen it? You have to go watch that. Watch that. Love it.
Yeah, check that out. Let me text it to you so I don't forget, because we're in a state of where we won't remember shit tomorrow, which is good.
All good.
So there's that. Lost Kitchen.
Right. Oh yeah, I texted your lovely wife about an hour before this podcast, and I asked her. I said, "I'm on your man's podcast in about an hour. Any stories you want me to embarrass him with while I'm there?"
Probably no answer, I'm guessing.
No, she answered.
Oh.
But I know why you love her, because she didn't give me any ammunition. Yeah. She gave me nothing. She just laughed and she said, "Have so much fun." And I said, I know we will. I miss his perfectly sculpted jawline.
Right here, buddy. Look at it. It's even better. I'm down like 14 pounds since you saw me last.
You better stop, man. She was already drooling. She's like, "Oh, I know that jawline."
Can't blame you. Can't blame either of you. I mean,
you're looking good, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Looking twice, bro.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. So speaking of which, when are you coming out to Virginia? Let's go tear up DC like the Michelin Star Row. They got this row of restaurants apparently over there in the hood. It's great.
My old DC was my old stomping grounds years ago.
Yeah, I know.
But Jesus, I haven't been back in 20 years. But the thing is, like, all my family moved away, so now like my only excuse to get out of DC is to see you. So that's good enough for me.
Well, I can take you to the Pentagon. It's right there. I look out at it every night into the. So if you don't know, I'll get with you after this. But yeah, got that. I'm looking at the Jefferson Memorial as well. I'm in a good spot.
I love the Jefferson Memorial. Lincoln is my favorite. Lincoln Memorial.
Lincoln was cool. I saw that one. I run every Sunday to something different. I did the monument first. I did the Jefferson. I did Lincoln. I'm gonna run the Capitol this weekend, maybe. I'm actually going up to the Bronx. I'm going up to the new Yankee Stadium to watch the Giants on Saturday.
Oh, are you? Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of weird being on the East Coast. Like, you're right in the middle of, like, you can go to so many different parks. You can't do that in California.
No, yeah, that's definitely one thing that's really cool about the kind of the DC, the Mid-Atlantic area.
Yeah.
Everything is such a short flight. You know, you're right there to New York, New Jersey, Philly, Chicago. Everything's right there.
I'm gonna do this, and then my next step is the Giants come out to DC, play the Nationals in July. But before that, I'm gonna get down to Baltimore up to Baltimore, go Camden Yards. That's on my list as well of places to see. Because I just love stadiums, especially the older ones. Like, newer ones, I'm not too interested. Like, I'm not super psyched to see the new Yankee Stadium because I've heard a lot of negative stuff. It's just all corporate bullshit, you know. I did get to go to the old Yankee Stadium once. I got to see Roger Clemens pitch against the Twins and Eric Milton. If anyone remembers Eric Milton, he threw a no-hitter once. That was his claim to fame. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to doing that stuff, but yeah, man, I'm not sure yet. I'm still just banking up this leave time for when I can actually get
a flight out to California, but when I do, you and me will be in that room right there that you're at. Hopefully, right there.
Keeping the seat warm for you, buddy.
As you should.
And you'll have to spend some time with your wife.
Yeah.
But come on. This
Yeah,
is where
right
you want to be.
Yeah, right there. And remember, you're not allowed to invite her. It's men. No. I don't think she's ever
I would
asked.
never do.
Yeah.
I would never.
I've never seen Lily there, so apparently it's no women allowed. I've never seen any woman there. Except
We
the Bond.
actually don't allow women. We don't allow women.
No, it's except the Bond women, Bond chicks. The Bond
No,
chicks.
the good news is that my girlfriend early on told me that that she doesn't like the smell of cigar smoke, and I'm like, perfect.
Good. Stay away. Eat it.
It's
Yeah,
not
dude.
for you.
All right. Again.
Speaking of which, I have to go home and cook her dinner.
Yep, exactly. All right. So that says this has been Todd Burleson hanging out. He is involved with Llama Wines. I highly recommend and suggest that you please check out his website at llamawines.com. Get yourself a bottle or two. There it is. Bring it to there it is to the left. There it is. Llama Wines from the mighty region of Bolivia. And with the little llama. Yeah, Sirinda llama, which is kind of cool because is it llamas or alpacas that are all over California? Like there's those farms. Oh shit, he's frozen again. So we'll see if he can come back in because I don't want to just like end this without Todd being unfrozen or frozen. Is it frozen or unfrozen? Let me let him know that he's frozen again. Too much movement. Too much movement, bro. You're frozen again. Too much movement. Frozen again. But yeah, so that is Todd Burleson, Llama Wines. Great stories. Fun guy to hang out with. I hope you guys enjoyed this specific episode with him, like hanging out with a buddy at all times, because that's my dude, and it's cool to kind of bring you guys into something that I normally do. This is kind of like an average night when the two of us get together and hang out back in the old wonderful city of Napa. So again, like and subscribe. You can follow me at EricTWBB, and that will do it for us tonight.